Well, welcome to the Milan Film Festival 2015, and I'm here with Heather from Pearl. Thank you very much for joining us. If you could just tell us your connection to the film, how you became involved in it, and some of your background, that would be wonderful.
Sure. I'm the producer for this film, and I did a lot of different things because it's a small crew, small budget. So everything from marketing, fundraising, helping to determine the cast and crew, to craft services on the set. Yeah. So we all did a lot of different things. We had about an 8-person crew. We shot the film over the course of a weekend. Yeah. 4 days altogether, and so we all filled a lot of roles.
And is it true to say, or the more I understand from the producing side of it, you literally have to wear every cap, so know exactly what's going on all the time?
I think on a small budget independent short film, yes. If you're working with bigger budgets, you're making a feature film, I think your role as a producer can be much more streamlined and defined. But in this particular case, with a small crew and shooting outside and doing a lot of different things, yeah, you fill a lot of different roles. So it's fun. You learn a lot that way. I did slate as well.
Oh, so literally?
Yes.
Oh, right, so you did wear lots of caps. And how did you become involved in it initially? I mean, were you approached, or did this idea come up in front of you?
Yeah, the director, Amy Sedgwick, happened to be my best friend.
Right.
And we went through a film school workshop together. So we met about 5 years ago in Seattle and had worked on a couple of other projects together. And when she wrote this particular script and she wanted to shoot this, she asked me if I would be involved and what role I wanted to play. So I said I'd love to produce and help with fundraising. We did a Kickstarter campaign. We raised $10,000 on Kickstarter, and then she put in some of her own funds as well. So the total budget was right around $15,000.
Right, and I'm interested in the Kickstarter because lots of filmmakers talk about it.
Yeah.
And one of them actually said something quite interesting to me, which was, whatever your budget is, go higher. Is that true?
Well, ideally, yeah. I think, and there's so many different platforms now, right? We've done about 6 different fundraising campaigns for different projects. This one was sort of in the middle in terms of the amount we raised, but Kickstarter, I think, is still the best because it's brand name recognition. When you say Kickstarter, everyone knows what that means. People aren't as familiar still with Indiegogo, and there's some other fundraising platforms that are just for film, like Seed and Spark is a brand new one. But Kickstarter, you've got international visibility, which helps. We've had some of our fundraising campaigns saved by people that we didn't know in other countries. So I think Kickstarter is the best.
And is it true to say that you've got more chance of getting money if you're of a higher budget? So what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to produce a film for, say, $2,000 as opposed to 10, 15, 20, the chances are you'll have a better chance of getting that money.
I think that's true. And I've heard other people say that if you ask for larger amounts of money or you talk about larger budgets, people take you more seriously, right? So if I approach you and say I'm making a film for $500,000, right away you're going to assume that I'm at this level instead of this level as a producer or as someone that's making a particular kind of film. So yeah, I think that's true to some extent.
And was the whole producing side of it more difficult than you'd imagine, or was it about where you thought it would go?
Since I've done several other projects, it was about what I expected. But there's always challenges. We shot this film in a small town on the coast of Washington State near Seattle, in an oyster factory.
Oh, I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it twice actually.
And outdoors, and so you're dealing with weather, you're dealing with language issues. A lot of it's shot in Spanish, and a lot of people that work in the factory speak Spanish and know English. Amy, our director, is fluent in Spanish, so that helps a lot. But in terms of the actors, making sure that they are authentic to the roles and that what they're saying is authentic to what people would actually talk about was really important, and I think we achieved that. So, but yeah, there's always challenges. Our just as a funny story, our Grip, our gaffer, he was he was great, but he has these very particular things that he needed on set all the time. So his thing was that he needed to have Diet Coke.
Right.
So we had to send my husband Clint out to get the Diet Coke so Kevin would be happy, because otherwise he was very upset.
Oh, he was grouchy if he didn't have his Diet Coke. Sounds like my partner, but that's another story. And funny enough, it's Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And what was the most difficult part about doing it? Was there anything that just didn't go according to plan?
Probably just the technical aspects of shooting in the oyster factory, dealing with the sounds and how that would play in the film. There were some scenes where Amy decided on the spot to completely cut the dialogue and let the sounds of the machinery in the factory sort of play a role or be almost like a character in the film, because she wanted it to feel oppressive and sort of like it's closing in on this person. So she cut all the actual dialogue and just let those sounds sort of take over, which I thought was a good decision.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really, really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
And I know that obviously it's a deliberate decision to have it mainly in Spanish. But, I mean, at the outset, was there ever a time you thought, well, or any of you thought, well, okay, if we're doing this mainly Spanish language film, is that going to impede us in terms of trying to distribute the film or get it to other areas, or was that not really thought about?
Actually, I think it's helped.
Right.
I think both within the U.S. and outside the U.S., it's a very specific experience that's very true to life for immigrants in the U.S. that come from Mexico. And most of the people that worked in the oyster factory are from Mexico recently, and they don't speak English, and they have these jobs that are very difficult. And so we wanted to make that genuine and accurate. And it was nice when we screened it in the U.S. to have people say, you hit this right. This is exactly what it's like. And in other countries, when we entered it in Spain and Mexico and it won Best Short Film, I think for them it's interesting because they're seeing a piece of life they might not see in their country, but they can understand the language, they can relate to a lot of the things that are happening. And for our director, it's very personal for her. She spent 3 years living in Mexico. She has a very deep affection for Mexican people and the culture, and she wanted to tell that story. So.
And is part of that storytelling I say the situation in the US, but I mean, even as an outsider, we know that the borders, and there's lots. Even now, obviously the elections coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing this was all part of the making the film to sort of drive the story of what's happening.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. I think, it's interesting to see, and different parts of the U.S. are different. In Washington State, we do have a big agricultural community. There's a lot of people from Mexico that come to work and pick crops, things like that. But in this particular town, people are working in an oyster factory. And it was interesting because within the oyster factory, they had all these certificates. They have contests because they are paid by the oyster.
Yeah.
So they're shucking oysters as fast as they can.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to watch because they can just, so yeah, I think she wanted to tell a particular story about people that, in this particular woman, Pearl, who wants to change her life. She has bigger dreams than this. She wants to move to a bigger city. She wants to do something different, and she has to figure out how to get out of this difficult situation, which I think a lot of people come to the United States or go to other countries because they want to have a different opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm sort of getting off piste very slightly here, but I'm sure you know what's happening in the European Union and the exodus from Syria and Afghanistan are examples, and in particular there's a huge problem in Greece, Italy, and the upward trend towards the northern countries, so Germany, France, and ultimately the UK.
Right.
So we're well aware. I think Germany's taking something like 10,000 a day. It's an astounding number.
Yeah.
And it's a huge problem. And I don't know the answer. No one seems to know what the answer is.
Right.
And this is a really serious situation. Sorry, I'm just
No, it's okay.
But that's the, how. So we can. There's empathy there in terms of, we understand it's a real problem. And I don't know how it's all going to play out. So what's next? Are you working with her now on something new?
Yes, so she's got some ideas for another short film that she's thinking about shooting in January, as well as a documentary feature that she's researching and thinking about. And then I'm working on a documentary called Gold Balls that's about tennis players over the age of 80.
Right.
That film's almost done. We have a test screening coming up in Seattle when I get back. And that's exciting. That's a feature film, and that'll be going out to festivals this year. And then I'm also producing a web series called Baked, and that is an episodic cooking show about cooking with cannabis. So now that marijuana is legal in Washington State.
Yes, I was reading because I didn't realize it's 4 states, isn't it?
Yeah. Washington, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington, D.C.
Yeah, because one of them rejected it, or the exit polls for another state rejected it overnight, haven't they? I can't remember which state it is now. Yeah,
but it's more. I think more and more states will start to legalize it. California is right around the corner.
Oh yeah, it's got to.
And once that happens, I mean, they already have such a booming business with it anyway, so once it becomes legal, it's very beneficial to the economy. And you can take the drug effect out of it, you can take the THC out of it completely, and just the medical benefits for people with cancer and seizure disorders and all this. It's very interesting. I'm learning a lot. I'm not very, I'm not a recreational user normally, but and there's such a food culture in Seattle as well. The chef that we have consulting with us on the show makes all kinds of amazing recipes, and he's teaching people how to use this in their food without, ruining.
Oh, so we're talking really proper baking.
Oh, yeah.
Food. So when someone says a cannabis cake, which almost for us it's a bit of a joke, this is completely and radically different.
Yes,
it's the real thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that's been fun. We just shot our pilot episode a couple weeks ago, and we want to shoot a season.
Okay, brilliant. And just finally, if you could, I don't know, go back 10, 20, 30 years or whatever, however long you've been involved in this, is there anything you look back and think, I would have done this radically different, or are you sort of pretty happy with the way the ride has been?
Well, I guess the only main thing is that I wish I would have started a long time ago, right? So I've had a different career up until this point, and really didn't get serious about it until about 5 years ago.
Right.
When I'm in my 40s. I wish I would have started it when I was in my 20s, because who knows where I'd be now. But I think, the important thing to take away from that is that it's never too late. If you're 75 and you want to start making movies, I'd say go ahead.
No, I couldn't agree more. No, I mean, I've had a massive career change.
Yeah.
So I know, and funnily enough, I know where you're coming from, because everything's easier in hindsight, isn't it? So, but you just don't know. And often the way things are is the paths you take, and not necessarily ones you choose, and they just fall in front of you, don't they? So I don't know how it happened with you.
Yeah.
But it's often just there's a glitch and a movement, and then you look back and think, well, actually, in hindsight, I wish I'd done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's life.
Yeah, and I think, like you're saying, once you make that decision, I want to go in this direction, that things start happening. If the more energy you put into it, the more I think will come your way. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it, and I look forward to working on more films. It's great to be here in Italy. Who knew that would happen?
No, we're absolutely over the moon. Honestly, we've had we've been running near enough 10 years for all the festivals, and so this is a new, and Berlin, a new adventures, and it's just been overwhelming. We're just so pleased, and again, lovely comments which we always get, and honestly, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to talk to you.